Hello, it's Jonathan from Build Your Own Aquaponics. Today we're going to talk about the bell siphon. The function of the bell siphon is to allow the water level into the grow bed to go up and down. The reason why you want the water level into the grow bed to variate up and down several times per day is to bring some oxygen to the roots of your vegetables, otherwise they will rot, but also to bring some oxygen to your bacteria. You know that the bacteria is basically the biological filter of the grow bed, right? They live of the aquaponics setup. They live on the media that is into the grow bed, and they need a lot of oxygen to live, right? They are aerobic, and if you don't have a system that is going to allow your water level to go up and down, the problem is that you're gonna have some deficiencies in oxygen. So in aquaponics, we work with fish poo, right? So we get a lot of organic matters into the grow bed, and those organic matters are going to be transformed by the bacteria. But those organic matters, if there is no flush of the systems, they're gonna be accumulated between the media, and they're gonna clog very easily. So if you design a system without a bell siphon or any other system to allow the water level to variate, if you are in a constant level grow bed, after a few months you're going to have some parts of the grow bed that are going to turn anaerobic, and that's when you're going to start to smell it. It's going to smell very bad. You're going to start to have some fermentation, and obviously you're not going to have the transformation of the ammonia in nitrate and the nitrate in nitrate, which means that basically you're going to have a spike of pollution into your water, and obviously your fish are going to die. Well, they're going to stress very much. That's why a bell siphon is so important. It allows the water to go up and down. Each time the water goes down, the bacteria have direct access to the oxygen from the atmosphere. When the water level is up, the little bubbles of air are trapped between the media and inside the media as well, because most of the time we choose a porous media in aquaponics. So you got a lot of oxygen everywhere all the time. Even when the water is high, you still have a lot of oxygen, and then obviously the water is going to drop very soon because the bell siphon is going to flush, and the bacteria are going to have access to the oxygen from the atmosphere again. So that's really the role of the bell siphon, is to really keep the environment aerobic, 100% aerobic, and that's a key in aquaponics. Now you can reach this kind of the same result with different other systems. You know, you can use a timer on a pump with a little hole on the evacuation pipe of the siphon, all those kind of things, but I think the bell siphon is really the most efficient way to work, and obviously it's powered by gravity, so it doesn't consume any electricity. It allows you to work with quite small pumps because you don't need to have such a big volume of water to renew the whole system as in a constant level grow bed. Here with the bell siphon, you can only renew the total volume of the grow bed twice per hour, and it's going to be completely fine. So really, I think that's really the key of aquaponics, the bell siphon. So now let's have a look of what a bell siphon is composed of. So first you can see that we got this external pipe here. I use a bit more than 100 millimeters pipes. Sometimes I use 120. So basically this one, the external one, has no real, it's not very important, but you want to be able to put your hand inside, right? Because if you got some media that fall inside or anything, you want to be able to clean inside. So the function of this first pipe is to keep the media away from the inside of the siphon, right? You could use another material, I use a pipe with some holes inside, so it allows the water to go, but it keeps the media away from the inside of the siphon. I also use a cap that I put on top. So in this case I know that everything inside is completely protected and I'm not going to have too much dust or media or whatever inside. Then inside you got a bell, so that's why it's called a bell siphon. You can see that on the bell you got this kind of little air pipe, and here you got also a stand-up pipe. So what we want to understand here, if you want a technical explanation of how the siphon works, you see a stand-up pipe is plugged here straight. It's connected to this pipe here, and without the bell you would have a constant flow. The constant flow would be the constant level would be determined by the top of this pipe, right? So basically the level in your grow bed is going to increase because the pump is turned on. Once it reaches this level, the water starts to fall inside the pipe and it returns to the fish tank. So basically you can control the top level of the grow bed by the length of this pipe here. If you want the water level to be a bit lower, you can cut it a bit lower. But that's basically what you got when you got a constant flow. But here we work with a bell siphon. So the bell is coming on top of this pipe here, and it's going to determine the minimum level of water into the grow bed. Right? So what happened is that the water is coming from those little holes on the bottom of the pipe, right? It's going to raise inside and it's going to fall into the black pipe, right? The water flow here on a constant flow level, on a constant level grow bed, the water is going to fall into this black pipe, and the water flow going out of this black pipe is going to be equal to the water flow coming from the pump, right? So basically the water coming from the pump goes into the grow bed and the same quantity is going back into the fish tank. Now when you put a bell on top of this, it changes the behavior of the system. So what is happening here now is that the water is falling through this black pipe again. Yeah, it's coming inside the bell, it's falling into the black pipe. And what happens is that in this black pipe, the pipe is quite high, right? And you got the water is falling, it's a waterfall inside. And when the water falls, it accelerates. So the speed of the water is going to increase very much. And what happens is that you need to understand that in physics, there is a constant. The constant is that the pressure multiplied by the speed of the water is always constant for a certain water flow, right? So here, when your water falls into this pipe, it's going to accelerate, and because the speed of the water is going to increase, the pressure is going to decrease. And so, when you got your bell on top, here you capture obviously you got a bit of emptiness here, and you got this water that is falling into the black pipe. So, because the pressure is going to decrease, here you're going to have a depressure, and all this part, all the air is going to be sucked in the fish tank, and therefore here is going to be full of water as well. So basically, the water flow here is going to increase them. It's going to increase. It's going to be the section of the pipe is going to be full of water at high speed, and therefore the water flow going out of the bell siphon is going to be higher than the water flow coming from the pump. By doing so, you understand that the water level is going to decrease into your grow bed. The water level decrease until it reaches the bottom of the bell. So at the bottom of the bell, we got this little air pipe, and it's going to allow the pressure inside inside the bell to be balanced with the atmosphere. In this case, the bell siphon is going to stop. So that's exactly how it's going to work, right? The water level is going to raise because you're going to pump that is pumping some water into the grow bed. once it reaches the top of the black pipe inside the bell, the bell siphon is going to start, because it's going to create a depressor. The pressure is going to be very low inside. It's going to suck the air, and then it's going to be full of water. So all the water flow is going to increase dramatically, and therefore the level of the grow bed, the level of the water into the grow bed is going to decrease, and then it's going to stop, and again it's going to increase, decrease. So it's going to be, you want to dimension it, well actually the water pump is going to be the, it's going to determine the frequency of those flush. You want a water pump that is twice the size of your grow bed. So let's say you got a grow bed of 500 liters, you want a water pump that is 1000 liters per hour. Because you want to be able to flush approximately twice the size of your grow bed per hour. And yeah, that's how it works. I think it's quite straightforward. Now, if you want it to work efficiently, you need to find the exact good dimensions of pipes and the good length and the good diameter for all the components of the bell siphon. If you don't have the exact same dimensions at few millimeters, the bell siphon is not going to work. So each bell siphon is adapted to a specific size of pump, and that's very important to understand that if you buy a bell siphon that is adapted for 1000 liters per hour pump, and you plug it to a 5000 liters per hour pump, the bell siphon is never going to stop, so the water level is always going to stay down. So it's not going to work. If you want to design your own bell siphon, you can play with different pipes, different dimensions. It's always a bit tricky to find the exact dimensions. Now, if you want to build your own bell siphon for a backyard aquaponics system, so from 200 liters grow bed to maybe 800 liters grow bed, you can use our video, because we got one video. You can purchase the video where you got step-by-step process to build your own bell siphon adapted to the dimensions I just told you. So it's to go with a pump that is going from 750 to 1500 liters per hour, and there in this video I give you the exact dimensions for this specific dimensions of pump. Yeah, now again, if you want to build your own for other dimensions, you're going to be able to do it definitely, but it's going to take a few hours and a few trials and mistakes before you are able to find the good setting. I hope you enjoyed the video. Feel free to share it. Please give me a like if you liked the video, if it's useful for you. In the comments, please tell me what kind of video would help you if you are stuck somewhere in aquaponics. Please let me know what would be interesting for you to know and to understand in aquaponics. You can also download our free bonus video which is talking about how to keep your vegetables green, strong and healthy in aquaponics. And yeah, I will see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Cheers!